Hey guys, Pastor Jake here. I wanted to share a couple of thoughts about church attendance and why watering down the gospel does not work. So there's this myth out there that people are saying, hey, you're using Facebook ads and marketing, you must be watering down the gospel. And the reality is there's nothing further from the truth. In fact, churches that are growing right now, by and large, are preaching a faithful, biblical, culturally relevant, but cultural counterpoint message. And Joy Church, the church I have the privilege and honor of being the pastor, is no different. Listen, yesterday we talked about truth and we talked about the difference in having a divine or absolute truth perspective. In other words, God establishes truth as a category apart from how I feel about it, apart from my observation of it, that I have to align my life to God's truth. And that comes in the area of science. It comes in the area of epistemology, how we know what we know. That's a big word for you, isn't it? And also the area of morality, what we do with our bodies, what we do in our relationships, how we handle money. Every area of life has to be aligned to God's truth. Otherwise, we're going to be headed for destruction. Like it says in the book of Proverbs, there is a way that seems right to a man, but in the end, it leads to death. So what's this whole viewpoint about watering down the gospel and how, if your church is growing, if you're reaching people, you must be watering down the gospel? What is that viewpoint? Well, first of all, it's just a mistake, okay? And I'm going to be fair and say it's an honest mistake. It's probably something that people go, well, if our church isn't growing and we're preaching, faithful to the Bible, then that must mean these churches that are growing, that are reaching lots of people, especially evangelistically, people that are unchurched, they must be really watering it down. Well, that's a mistake to think that way. Here's the reality. When you are relevant and you speak to the heart of the questions that people are going through in culture, you are going to not be able to keep the doors open enough of your church, right? When you speak to the questions that people are actually asking, not answering questions that people aren't asking, then they'll come to the church. But also, you're going to have a place of conversation, a place of uniqueness amongst the world. And so as the church, as we go out into the marketplace of ideas, places like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, we begin to invite people. If you're inviting people to an essentially Christian echo chamber, they're not going to come, right? Because it's not interesting. So people have a viewpoint of what the church is. They think that church is like, just for Christians. Church is a place where we all agree in the same politic, moral codes, all, yada, yada, yada. And you know what? There are some things Christians agree on, and that's not a problem. The issue is we need to be able to say, hey, we want to engage with you in these questions and have a conversation. We want to teach you what God's word says about these core questions, these questions about sexuality, morality, and truth, and confidence in what's going to happen in the afterlife. All these types of questions that people really do care about. If you are brave and courageous to take on these kinds of questions, you're not going to be able to, you have to bring more chairs in, right? So don't fall into this trap, this myth of thinking, wow, churches that are growing are watering down the gospel. It's not true. If it's true in some cases, it's not going to work very long because people are increasingly bored with just church for church's sake, just putting on nice music and yada, yada, yada. There needs to be relevance in the message we talk about. All right, God bless.